that's what I want to kind of explore right here. Why all the hate? Let's just break it down and be honest. Why are people coming in, giving this movie such low scores, such bad reviews? Why are they coming in and being so hateful towards it? And I think that some of it is actually justified. There was one movie out there catching a lot of heat, a lot of hate. Y'all know what that movie is.
You're not Steve Rogers.
You're right. I'm not.
Might as well just tell him you ain't white. Yeah, people.
Should have looked at him and been like, and you ain't green.
This is Captain America, Brave New World. Ooh, you got to be brave to be this movie right here, because this movie has been catching a lot of hate, a lot of criticism. And let's see what it is on Rotten Tomatoes right now. I think that it's still in the lower 50s. Last time I checked, I think it was at 51%.
I'm going to guess 48.
You're close. No. It's still hanging in there at 51%.
Oh, cool.
On Rotten Tomatoes, which is not enough to get the coveted fresh. It is very much a splat. And we saw the movie. We went in and gave it our review, and we did say, we were very honest and said that this movie has flaws. I said that I was hovering somewhere between a high rental and a low matinee with this movie right here, not the full price that we used to give to many Marvel movies back in the day. It is sort of a letdown. Yeah, a lot of people wanted this to be great. I think the consensus is it's not. However, the hate for this movie, people calling it slop, people calling it terrible, people calling it confusing, people calling it, this is what I don't get, people calling it one of Marvel's worst.
People are calling it the worst Marvel movie, which is insane. It's crazy.
Again, people are entitled to their own opinion, but I think that's very much hyperbole. I do not, come on, y'all, out of all Marvel movies, let's think about this now, out of all of them, are we really that short-term memory that we don't remember some of the worst Marvel movies, that this here is one of the worst? I think that somebody put it, it's a great TV movie. Or somebody said if this was on Disney Plus, this would have been a great series. Or if you're just going to see a fun time at the theater. Like if I gave this a high rental, doesn't mean that I regret seeing it at the theater. I actually have some fun with it. And there are some scenes in there, while the whole movie doesn't really need to be seen on the big screen, there's some scenes in there that I think work very well on IMAX, like the whole jet fighter scene. I think that's exaggeration to say that this is one of Marvel's worst, or Marvel's worst. I think that people I don't know what's going on. I think they might have let some of the controversies that went on before this movie get to them, the rumors of the reshoots and whatnot. I think people let some of this stuff get to them, all the negativity that happened before the movie came out, which is what we're going to talk about right now. Now, that's what I want to kind of explore right here. Why all the hate? Let's just break it down and be honest. Why are people coming in, giving this movie such low scores, such bad reviews? Why are they coming in and being so hateful towards it? And I think that some of it is actually justified. Maybe justify is the wrong word, but there are legitimate reasons why this is happening.
Some of the complaints make sense.
Well, some of the complaints make sense, and then there are some things that happen outside of this movie that are a factor to why this movie is being received like it is. And then again, like we're talking right now, I think some of it is unfair. I think some people are coming in and they are being a little bit too harsh on this for some of the wrong reasons. And we're going to explore all that. But let's go ahead and get into it. Now, I want to hear what you have to say, but can I
Please
jump it off right here? And because I want to be fair with this. I want to say that I do understand some of the negativity towards this movie. And I will say that Marvel brought it on themselves. Marvel did no favors for this movie for some of the bullshit they did before. And I'll tell you why, because, this poor movie right here, it's suffering the burden of the last two phases. The last two phases of Marvel, or the MCU, it's been one disappointment after another. Quantumania, That was a big disappointment. Love and Thunder wasn't too well received.
Even bigger disappointment, I thought.
It was a bigger disappointment. I mean, you talk about not knowing what to do with your villain in that movie, not knowing how to set your tone for that film. That movie was a mess, if you ask me. Also, probably one of the biggest disappointments, the Marvels. Now, seriously, that's what I'm saying. Are we talking that Captain America Brave New World is worse than this movie right here?
No.
So it's been one disappointment after another. So what I think is happening at this moment is that people's patience with Marvel is done. I think people are they're tired of Marvel not knowing what it's doing, not knowing where it's going. One mediocre movie or bad movie released right after another. And so now, if a Marvel movie isn't great, if a Marvel movie isn't awesome, then people are ready to turn on it, just out of frustration for Marvel. I think it's some fairly catching heat from frustrated viewers out there because everybody's just kind of getting tired of Marvel. And I can see that. I'm not talking about superhero fatigue. I'm not talking about Marvel fatigue. I'm talking about things that Marvel has done that has brought this criticism fairly upon them. Captain America, it's guilty of doing some of those things that I'm talking about Marvel doing with its last phase. In that movie, it's doing those sins that has gotten Marvel, pretty much dethroned from being, the movies that we look forward to now, to the movies where we're just kind of like, okay, all right, what you doing now? Prove to me that you're good. At this moment, we're all just expecting, we went from being very excited for a Marvel movie to now people just being like, oh, another Marvel movie.
Please don't disappoint me.
Yeah, what you got now? So I think with Captain America, is doing those things, it has some things in there that people have been tired of with Marvel for a long time. So Marvel had all these tricks and gimmicks that used to be cool. They were setting up the next big thing. They were teasing the next big character with a cool stinger.
Yeah, showing Iron Man picking up a prototype of Captain America's shield.
Yeah, it was always, oh man, we when they say, man, you better watch out, they coming. We knew who they were, and we were like, oh shit. Now they're like, who are you talking about? We don't know. They used to they used to actually make you excited to see what they were doing because you had a very clear hint of what was happening. Now they just dangling this shit in front of me like, what the is that? Now we're just, what are we, cats, pawing at yarn? Yeah. We don't know what's happening now.
It looks like they're scared to be too specific after what happened with Kang.
Well,
the end credit scene was so vague and unnecessary.
Well, they're doing this with a lot of things. It ain't just Kang. There's a lot of things they're doing this with. Because now that they're doing all this teasing and dangling and stinging, it's it's just annoying. It used to be exciting. Now it's annoying. And it's just, and people are getting tired of it. Before Marvel told good stories, they made sure that they actually gave you a solid movie, a great movie, and then they dangle something in front of you, and then they tease something. They had a clear idea where they were going. They gave you a good movie, and then made you excited to take that next step. Now movies feel like setups for what? Yeah, I don't know, right? Yeah. They're no, everybody like, oh.
One good example is the Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. Like the rings glow for some reason. Like, oh, something's coming. Like, what's coming? Like,
and we never found out what the rings were glowing, did we?
Nothing. Mm-mm.
Never found out. Damn. Blade talking to one of the Game of Thrones guys. We never found out what happened with that. Marvel spent 2 phases setting up not a goddamn thing. They spent 2 phases with this multiverse. This and these multiverse, the multiverse saga. The multiverse story branched out into more. We got more branches in the actual multiverse itself. These goddamn tags and stingers and teasing. The problem is that most of these movies in phase 2 didn't stand on their own. And they were always, you always had to know what's going on with the shows. You always have to find out what's happening to the movies. But you had to keep up with all this stuff, and yet it was confusing, and none of it went anywhere. to back this up, think about this. What was one of the biggest successes of the last phase?
The last one?
Or the one before that?
Deadpool and Wolverine? Or...
Well, that's this phase.
Yes, it's coming up phase.
No Way Home?
Take another one. Take another guess.
No, we.
Here, I'll show you.
Our whole lives. Pete, I'm done running.
Guardians of the Galaxy told its own story, and when it was done, we didn't tease no multiverse bullshit. They told a very character-driven narrative, and it ended up being one of the most successful shows. Now,
Movies.
I'm sorry, movies.
That's what I like about James Gunn on the new DC. It's like, okay, you got Creature Commandos, but it doesn't really connect to Superman. It might not, but it's just a standalone
just
TV
do these
show. That's
standalone.
it.
Yeah, you stand alone with these stories. You listen. We all can like blame unforeseen circumstances for this going all over the place. COVID throwing off scheduled shoots and whatnot. Jonathan Majors, who was supposed to be Kang, his ass running down the street from his girl. Damn, some people like, damn, is that Kang running from that white girl? Right, like Batman, what are you doing? Bring your black ass in. But
I think we got a chance that he could come back.
But I don't even want to get into that because that's not just a rumor. I don't even care.
I was just wanted to say that I heard Michael B. Jordan made a quote about him.
Yeah,
like that he still backs
they
him
haven't
up.
confirmed anything.
Oh,
The point is that he was supposed to be Kang. That got, because of that incident right here, that got thrown out. But only audiences know what they see. When audiences, they're watching this stuff, all they know is like, they don't know about the COVID. They don't, and they know about Jonathan Majors, but right now, where's this movie going? What's happening here? And so where am I going with this? I'm saying that Captain America is guilty of the same thing, man. Captain America was so interested in setting up or tying loose ends on things like the Eternals, a movie that people thought was pretty much bad. I'm one of the exceptions. I thought it was interesting, but I understand people not liking that movie. Tying up loose ends with the Hulk, a movie that people just kind of forgot about. I thought was meh or whatever, And sure, Captain America is setting up, the X-Men with adamantium and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But man,
and other villains too.
But there was no real hype for that. And I'll tell you why. Now, there's two reasons why there's no real hype for that from this movie. One,
this Wolverine let down his entire world.
we already got our hype done with Deadpool and Wolverine, as far as X-Men go. And also, it's hard to get excited for an X-Men tease when you are teasing it in, depending on how you look at it, anywhere from mediocre to bad films.
My theory? You somehow crossed through.
Man, nobody remembers this, man.
Oh, I forgot. That was my favorite part of that movie.
Yeah.
And you forgot it too.
There was a time when people would have been talking about this blue-ass Beast Ray. They would have been talking about Beast for months after this. Oh, man, X-Men to come. You see Beast? This stinger came out and everybody forgot about it. You're so lost that you don't even know what to sting or tease anymore. And that's one of the things that people saw with this movie. It's just kind of like this. Brave New World is pulling the same tricks that has been making people annoyed with Marvel for the last few months or even years. And it's not helping this movie right here. So I think that people's impatience, people getting tired of Marvel's trickery, the things that they used to do that worked at one time that's not working right now, they're just doubling down on this movie right here and just adding, just because, again, out of frustration, they're just really just, adding a little bit of extra hate on this film because it's just kind of peaking now. Everybody get, their annoyance with Marvel. I'll tell you, the marketing was not great for it.
They didn't know how to market this. The Red Hulk never should have been in the marketing.
They never should have showed that. There's two reasons why. First of all, that's one of your biggest surprises in the film. I mean, it's cool to, even if you want to hint to it, just save what the Hulk looks like when you see the movie.
Exactly. Don't show me the monster.
Yeah, just save what it looks like until we see the movie. Second of all,
since when were they red?
That's the end of the film.
Yeah.
So you're giving away the end of the movie too. I mean, kind of. You're giving away the big climax. Man, you're supposed to save your climax for when you go see the movie. And it's not, listen, it's not this movie's not the only one to do this.
No, of course not. That's a problem with Hollywood right now is they need to get butts in seats. How can they secure that for sure? They got to have some kind of big money shot there.
Yeah. It was weird, man, to do this. It was a big mistake to show that. And, they're showing too much in trailers today anyway, no matter what. But, for a movie like this, that's already kind of a hard sell, that was a huge mistake to do that.
I think it also has to do with the merchandise was one of the reasons why they revealed the Hulk. Your favorite things, you know what I'm going to bring up, right?
What, those shoes? And
no, not even those. Those damn popcorn buckets. There was a bunch of cups, popcorn buckets with the Hulk. And in China, the marketing, they're not going to put a black guy on the poster. The marketing all revolved around the Red Hulk.
Wow.
Like there's a poster where Anthony Mackie is just an outline and it's red. And then it shows him fighting the Red Hulk.
Really?
Yeah. That was at the Chinese premiere. I saw a picture of it.
Wow. I would hate to say, because I haven't seen it, I don't want to say anything, and but I believe you because China is notorious for doing that. But they say, yeah, you're right. Yeah, man.
Someone could post a picture of it. I mean, it's out there.
Shit, if they did do that, if you wonder why black people are so frustrated with the world, that's one of the reasons why. Because all countries do racist shit like that, and then everybody's like asking us, "What's wrong with you? You can't put the main character who's black on the poster." She even with your boy Black Panther, even they had to put a goddamn cat mask on his face and have him do this shit because they didn't want to show a black man under there. Yeah, f you, man.
When they promoted 12 Years a Slave, they put Brad Pitt as the main character.
Yeah.
I was like, why?
And Brad, they showed him running like he was a slave.
Are you running from someone? Or are you chasing someone?
The world's most light-skinned looking slave running. Oh, speaking of advertising, people, got to take a word from my sponsor right now, which I'm glad to tell you about because it's something that I use. Oh, boy, these movies are so bad these days that I'm too busy to make a meal for myself.
And you stay hungry, don't you?
Man, these bad movies keep me hungry, man. These old bad. Yeah, man, you'd be surprised. Sitting around and criticizing movies and talking trash about them really builds up an appetite. But boy, I don't have enough time to cook for myself. And I'm also trying to eat healthy. Y'all know what I'm about to say. Factor. I got to give a word to our sponsor, Factor, right now. And I actually use Factor. I actually pay for Factor right now. Why? Because I'll tell you why. With Factor, these are dietitian healthy approved meals that I can make in about 2 minutes. They send these over, they're frozen. You put them away immediately. You can order as many as you want. You order like one meal a day, or you can order enough meals to feed you all day long. But Factor does arrive fresh. And as I said, they're fully prepared. Very busy for an active lifestyle like myself. Got a lot of variety, 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week. Makes it really easy to pick meals. They got smoothies, man. They got breakfast, grab and go snacks.
You even got vegan options.
Yeah, you do. Yes, you do have vegan options. Yum, yum, yum. Look at all that right there.
Smoothies?
Them smoothies. Even got desserts over here. Here's one of my goals, to make you join up for this and try it out for yourself. And I think I can do that when I give you this deal right here. You can get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use the code factorpodcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. I want to thank Factor for keeping me nice and healthy and fed with my busy lifestyle. I want to thank them for sponsoring this portion of the show. I want to thank all of you out there for your support. All right, let's get back into it. Where was I? So, with this movie, something that didn't help, there was a lot of negativity before the movie even came out.
Yeah,
you remember
rumors of reshoots, lots, like a ton.
The reshoots, the production troubles, the director getting pushed around and all this kind of stuff.
Harrison Ford giving them pushback.
Yeah, Harrison Ford just being a diva out there. Old barking ass diva. Got the f out of here. Just give me some weed. What the f? Where's my sandwich? Give me my dog treat. J. Harrison Ford just being a bully. I think he bit some people, but one of the biggest things that happened is that Anthony Mackie made some comments, and these comments were talking about America and patriotism, and of course that caused sort of that added to an already brewing conservative backlash that was happening with this movie.
For me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations. A man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity.
First of all, you black and talking about America, these conservatives hate it. Yeah. You got any negative, just anything. You can say, damn, that flag looks wrinkled. Militant, anti-American. Black,
fake ass patriot.
Yeah, black. Yeah. If you ain't sitting up, you ain't doing a buck dance about "I sure loves America." Conservatives, they hate your ass.
Buck dancing Captain America.
Buck dancing Captain America got them wings on. Yes, sir. Our dances for America. Our flies for America. Fly high. if you ain't saying that. So his comments, which I wouldn't have said anything, because you got to be careful how you say this. And to be honest with you, I really didn't understand what he was saying.
I kind of got what he was saying. It felt like to me he was trying to say, the United States looks a little weird right now. Don't associate that with my character. My character is this guy who's going through these troubles.
Gotcha. Well, that's going to cause a backlash.
As soon as this happened, I thought we were going to talk about it because of the way people are reacting.
Yeah. As soon as that was said right there, it's once they heard him say, "I don't think America is," they were like, "Oh, here you go. Yeah, anti-American. And I know your black ass don't like nothing we give you." You one of the ones that made it. You still can't be.
Yeah, you made that TV show about trying to get a loan, huh? Teaching people you can do that.
Yeah, we put you in Hollywood, we clothed you, we fed you, we gave you some money, and you ain't kissing our ass, you ain't appreciative of that, boy.
About to clip your wings.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think people, of course, when you talk about America, you don't say it the way exactly a certain group wants, especially some conservatives out there. They're going to take it and run with it, and they're just going to smear you. And I think they ran with this and tried to make him look bad, and that was right before the movie came out.
It's funny. That's from the party from freedom of speech.
What's that?
That's from the party that's so-called into freedom of speech.
Yeah. But you're wearing the stars and stripes and the red and the blue and the white. You're supposed to represent. And they treat him like he's really Captain America. So this is where I can get into what you're talking about. You're talking about how you like this is political.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was cool that they did that, because normally Disney wants to take a step back, and not really take a side or say something. But this movie kind of did, I thought.
Well, you know what? That's the thing with this movie, man. Was it really political? Did they really mean those things? I don't know. I don't know if they actually. Listen, this was made way before Trump got into office. So I don't know if they predicted this or not. I'm going to say it did not mean to take aim at this presidency, but I could see, people looking at it that way, and people seeing that are feeling like their political views are being attacked, or their political views were being somewhat ridiculed in this movie or questioned in this movie.
There were subtle touches that felt like it was directly talking about it, like his catchphrase "together," stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, listen, I myself don't think that they were taking a direct jab at Trump or anything. However, this movie did have a president that he had dictator tendencies, and he was a guy that. What did we say in our review? He was a guy that was very aggressive in his policies. He was a guy that, probably saying catchphrases like you did. And so some people were drawing that correct correlation between this movie and today's political, whether it be its administration or it's just political environment.
And to me, I really noticed it when the movie ended, the way that it comes together.
Oh, well,
of the image that they show, I was like, aha. You're saying something there, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I can see how people could draw that conclusion. You have a president. He's probably breaking some laws. He has aspirations to do dictator-like things. He loves red. He turns into a big red creature. So, yeah, I can see if you could draw those things together. But my point is that, if people are feeling like their political views are being attacked, then they're going to criticize the movie. Or another thing that I said, maybe people just don't want to go and see something political.
Yeah, I can get that too.
And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but if people are looking to escape, especially within, how politics are right now, and then they go to a movie and they're dropped into politics, and it's like, all right, yeah, they're going to come out feeling probably a certain way about this film. Also, let's just say it for what it is, y'all.
Cut the bullshit, Coleman.
Let's cut the bullshit and let's be honest right now about some things. And hold on, y'all. Let me find a good image to put this on so that I can talk about this. So, again, maybe I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but today, and y'all know with some people this is the case, anything of color looks like DEI. That diversity, equity, and inclusion. Those three spooky letters that are freaking people out back there. So, like I said, anytime you put something of color or something that is non-white or male in something, all of a sudden that's diversity. And we ain't forcing diversity on people out there because that's actually reverse. That's reverse discrimination. That's also that's racism in its own way.
Even though they took how many movies to build up this character to get him to this point?
Yeah, exactly. But seeing a black Captain America, come on, y'all, we know that stirred anti-diversity feelings in some people. They looked at that, not in my white America, that ain't happening. Hell, he was just they since he had to take on the mantle of Captain America from the other Captain America, people are already saying that's a diversity hire right there.
So dumb.
That's some sort of affirmative action right there. Captain America.
If he was white, though, wouldn't be a diversity hire.
No, Captain America just gave him that because he's black.
Here, I'm not using this anymore. Flips him the shield like a coin.
I'm not saying that's everybody. I actually think that that's a minority of people who feel that way. Like if you notice, that's why I mentioned this last, because I don't think that that's most of the people out there. I don't think that that's it at all. People are kind of guessing that Marvel was not happy with this movie. If for some reason did not want to put the traditional Marvel logo with the pages. I don't believe that.
No, I don't believe that either.
I believe it was like this because they were trying something that fit the tone of this film right here.
Yeah, and I thought it fit.
Yeah, now who knows if they'll do it again because, apparently people want to see the Marvel pages. But I don't think that was a bad thing they did. I actually liked that they did that. But I don't think Marvel was ashamed of this movie. And so they said, oh, don't put them pages on there. I don't think that was the case.
No, I think that they should do more stuff like this where it's the movie having its own identity. Yeah. That's the problem with some of these movies, that they all blend together. Like the ones that Quantumania and Thor Love and Thunder, they put those look like schlock. And one of them is worse than the other, but
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all.
And it's funny how you brought up those points because The Winter Soldier is still one of their best Marvel films. And that's a political thriller that's taken very seriously. In this movie, it kind of make it look like it was going to be like that, but apparently not.
Well, that's one of the things you talk about it being political. I think that that's the problem with the film. If I really had to get into it, man, I think, yes, politics might have kept people away, but I said this in the review, The Winter Soldier, it kind of kept a consistent tone. This brought in, since we're doing a little bit of spoilers, this brought in the Red Hulk, which I think kind of clashed with that political feel, that political thriller feel of it. And then they brought in the leader, who looked like a damn big-headed frog in this movie. It's the leader just looks silly to me in this film.
I liked it, but I was like, no one is gonna like this but me. It looked like a wet shower cap on his head.
Yeah, it looked like he put on a shower cap with some rocks underneath it, because he had these bumps and tumors on his head. I understand they were trying to do, but man, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's because they did things like they shot some of these effects and they were out in broad daylight, and it looked fake. Like right here, that's a better shot. That's a cool shot. But then they go and fight in the middle of cherry blossoms and, and the sky is all blue and everything. And I thought, that doesn't look too great. The leader is hanging out in the middle of the day. I thought maybe they had put him in darker, more ominous lighting. I thought maybe that would have worked better. That's where things like reshoots and stuff come in. I thought maybe they just kind of rushed these parts. Yeah, you know, I'm not. No, yeah, the leader looks something more like this, and can't find pictures of what he looked like in the movie. But you know,
It just looked like his brain was pushing up through a bald
exactly.
scalp.
Yeah, exactly. You know, if I was to make conclusions here about this, it's like I said before, man. You know, Marvel is not doing itself it's not doing itself any favors. A lot of these movies before that they were doing, you know, they're all over the place and not that great. And all these gimmicks that you did before, they're not working. And when you apply them to this movie where people are already tired of them, you know, of course people are going to like attack this movie and probably be unfair against it because they're just tired of you. They're just tired of you, man. You know, they just want you to do better. I think that if Marvel didn't have this track record of being annoying to people now, if it had a sense of where it was going, if we knew what they were always teasing and alluding to, if it was just a stronger, if they were just stronger movies that stood on their own, instead of always being an advertisement for the next thing that we don't even know about, people would have gone into this and probably would have been like, you know what? More people would have said, yeah, it's not their best, it's not the greatest, but damn, it was fun.
Yeah.
Are you guys still excited for Doomsday that's coming out next year, apparently?
No, I'm not excited for anything yet. I'm not, you know what? I'm more curious than I'm excited for things. Like Fantastic Four. Looks awesome. I think it's gonna be cool, but am I really pumped up for it? No, I'm very cautious about it. You know, I'm not going in there with my enthusiasm for Marvel that we all had back in the day. All of us, you know, we're over it now that Endgame is over, and some people are over it more than others. I hung on for a long time after Endgame. And I feel like a fool now, but you know, and some people are like, you know what, Endgame, they knew immediately. They said, you ain't topping that, and you know what, and I'm good. I'm good right now.
I think that they have some stuff that's coming up that could be fun, but the Thunderbolts looks kind of just like whatever. Fantastic Four could be good. I don't know, but they haven't built up anything like you're saying, and I don't know where it's all going.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem. No one knows what you're doing, and now you're suffering from the same thing that we used to criticize DC for, and every other person who tried to create a universe out their ass. You do these setups, and these setups go nowhere. You're left with storylines and cliffhangers that we'll never follow through on. We're never going to find out anything about those.
Yeah, and that's the thing that gives me hope about these next two movies that they got coming out. It's like, all right, maybe at least they'll have interesting characters that I will be able to care about, and then that will push the story.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes a movie, is some strong characters.
You hit it, man. You hit it. You know, just in this next phase, Marvel, please, 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 for the love of God and everything. Give me an important word. For the love of God and everything, sacred.
Sacred.
Sacred! For the love of God and all that is sacred, please give us, just like you said, a nice character-driven, self-contained movie that might lead to something, might not. If you want to tease someone on the side, that's fine. But yeah, give us something of this quality right here. Guardians, man, give us a story. And can I tell you something about Dr. Doom? That stunt casting that they're doing with
Robert
Downey Jr., that makes me less excited.
Yeah, you can clearly see what they're doing. What they were doing.
It makes me less excited that they're pulling out, that they took out Kang, who, by the way, we never knew what was happening with that character either. Yeah, when they first introduced Kang, I was like, all right, cool. And everybody was excited about that. And then they brought him into Loki. And everybody like, oh, shit. I really want to know where this is going. And then this brother got a perm and a part in his head. Started looking like Black Einstein. And I'm like, all right, I don't know what's happening no more. I don't know what's going on. So, they didn't even know what to do with that. So I was just kind of like, all right, my excitement for that was lost. And now you bring in Dr. Doom to replace, the goddamn Black Victor Frankenstein right here. And so it's like, you just brought in Dr. Doom at the last minute because, you're replacing this guy. And I don't even know if you know what to do with that.
Yeah, people are already predicting that the Fantastic Four movie is going to end with a stinger that shows Dr. Doom showing up. Him having an argument with Mr. Fantastic or something.
Of course they are.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. We went from We went from a damn multiverse supervillain to Frederick Douglass over here. While I wish people wouldn't be so harsh on Captain America, I can't really be mad at you because Marvel, you brought this out on yourself.
And it sucks because that's Anthony Mackie's first attempt at being Captain America on the big screen. We had Winter and the Falcon.
Oh,
on the Disney Plus TV
Captain
show.
America and Winter Soldier, or Falcon and Winter Soldier.
But that was only Disney Plus, and
Yeah.
actually his big debut on the big screen. It
Well,
failed.
it is terrible because while I think that Marvel brought this on themselves, you got people who are suffering, like Anthony Mackie. Anthony Mackie is, he gave a great performance in this.
He's great in the movie, and
Yeah.
I love him. He's good in everything.
Yeah, he is. As far as I'm concerned, yeah, he's Captain America. He can carry a movie now. He can lead the Avengers if he wanted to. But because Marvel is, can't get their shit straight, this guy has to suffer from it, because he's the face of the movie.
And that's another thing. Oh, he's going to lead the Avengers. Like, oh, okay, we haven't even got to the Avengers that are going to be in the multiverse fighting with Doom and all that stuff.
Well, to be fair, this movie kind of addresses that. Like they open that up. Like that's one of the first things that they talk to Anthony Mackie about in the movie.
But, when they sit up here and talk about the Avengers, I think, okay, yeah, you're going to bring the Avengers. Do you know what the hell you're doing?
And who's going to be in it? Like, there's a whole bunch of
Makes me
heroes
think,
now.
do you have a plan for this? Or are you just throwing a bunch of superheroes together? Because I don't, so far, I don't know. I still don't know where we're going. So, anyway.
And once they get to Secret Wars, it's going to get crazy.
I should maybe they should just keep that a secret because I mean, listen. Before that, you had one event. You were leading up to Thanos and Endgame.
Yeah.
Now we're leading up to the Avengers again. Now we're leading up to Secret Wars. Now we're leading up to Doomsday. Now we're leading up to still got some multiverse stuff to come. It's like it's too much, man.
Yeah, they're not following that rule of storytelling that Matt Stone and Trey Parker famously said in that video. This happens, therefore this happens. Now they're just doing, this is going to happen, then we're going to do this, and then the Iron Man's a bad guy.
Yeah, just pick, when you say we got all these sagas going on, I'm like, pick one and, get that done and then move on to the next one. I don't know, man. Anyway, there you go, folks. Hopefully Marvel will get back, and I do think when you have something like COVID kind of throwing everything off and then you have an incident like with Jonathan Majors, it has a tendency to throw a lot of things off. Hopefully with no studio wants to have a track record of bad movie after bad movie or mediocre movie after mediocre movie. Hopefully they will find their footing and get back to at least, I'm not even looking for them to reach Endgame levels. That's a once in a lifetime thing. If they can do it, that's amazing. I'm not even looking for that anymore. I just want good movies.
It's tough when you're number 36 in like a series of movies. It's tough.
And Jesus, man, you did a great thing. You did something no one did before. You created this massive cinematic universe. I don't give about universes anymore. Just make good movies. I don't care if any of these movies just mention something. Do a slight aside. We don't have to lead up heavily to something else. Just do a good standalone film. I hate universes now. I can't stand them. All these universes. I want to be I want to be a supervillain and wipe them all out. I hate them. Well, you made it to the end of the video. That must mean you really like what we do. So if you do, check out these other videos just like this one. Check out our other YouTube channels and subscribe to join our wonderful Toasty community. And as always, stay toasty.